Welcome to the Turn Academy student videos. These are for the students who were here last week, ending in 2/17/19. I hope you enjoy them. Okay, we're going to see a pretty nice swing here. We've drawn in the swing plane, the shaft line. Let's play the swing in slow motion to begin with, down the line of view. Very accomplished golfer here, and you'll see why. Takes a club a little high on the outside, but not bad. Now he's going to get to the top. Right here, I'm going to pause. That's a classic position right there. The lead arm is parallel to the swing plane. The trail elbow is right on the swing plane line. Maybe his shoulders could be a little more tilted. And I think the reason they're not is if I back it up a little bit, you'll see just a little bit of a head lift in the backswing. See right in there where it just comes up just enough to throw those shoulders a little off. Now he's going to do a nice job of rerouting the club back down. We'll advance it now, and we'll see the club dropping back down in under the swing plane line right on through to a nice, beautiful high finish. His occasional miss, he has a tendency to pull the ball, and he does that because he gets his shoulders out a little early on his downswing. Other than that, it's a really nice swing. This golfer is a little too upright for this particular swing. For this club, you can see the hands are pretty high, almost to a single plane, but kind of in between. Got a nice stance other than that. Let's just see what happens. We'll start it back slowly. Now we're going to see a lift almost right away. Watch her ear rise above the yellow line. So we've got a little lifting going on, but she's got a good width in her swing there. And now she's completely straightened her trail leg, her right leg in this case. But the club is still on the swing plane. This is, without knowing it, she's doing a classic one plane swing, back and forth on the same line. But the problem is she does what a lot of golfers do in the single plane swing, is they rotate the club, or over-rotate it in this case. In the Hogan days, we pronated and supinated. In the single plane days, like Bryson DeChambeau, we don't need to do quite as much of that. So you can see how wide open the club face is. She's got to do a lot of rotation now in order to time that. Plus the club is coming over the top. You can see right there, that club is still dead wide open. The club face is pointing at that little blue bucket out in front of her. So she comes into the ball, she's going to cut across it, shoot it off to the right, and miss. So what we want her to do is feel like the club face is staying pointed at the ball a little longer, and definitely earlier in the downswing. On through. In this down the line view, we're going to see a golfer that has a tendency to hit the club very steeply and abruptly to the inside. Watch this as I back it back, take the backswing on. See how much she's taking that club way to the inside, getting herself a little jammed up in there. She ends up in a good position there, so she's pretty athletic. Now you're going to watch a really nice downswing. Look at that, right down the line. Little club to the inside, exactly like it's supposed to be. Now notice how square this club is. If we drew a line right through the face of the club, it'd be pointing right at the ball and then right on through. And she gets a pretty good launch out of that. See the ball right there? Launching off pretty good. While it wasn't the best hit in the world, she did pretty good. Now, the flaw with her seems to be standing up. There she is, right there. See how she's standing up? So that puts her shoulders all slumpy. If she can stay with her butt out and her spine tilt forward, she's going to do a much better job. This is another one of our single plane golfers. You see the signature setup here with the club head 12 or so inches behind the ball. That was created by Mo Norman when he was told that by Ben Hogan that the biggest mistake most golfers do is in the first 12 inches of the takeaway. So he would set the takeaway club in exactly the spot he wanted it and do the takeaway from there. You can't get any lower and slower than dead behind the ball at a dead stop on the ground. Now we're going to go ahead and advance this swing in pieces. Now what you can see, he's quickly rotating the arms. And again, we don't need to do that in the single plane swing. That's a leftover. We want to keep the lead hand under the trail hand a little longer. Now he's in a pretty good position right there. He could get a little more hinge if he wanted to, and by that I would mean the club would be back on that line a little bit. But he's in a pretty good position there. He's loaded pretty hard into the trail leg. The nice wide stance is keeping him balanced. Now he's going to drive his hips into that. See how the hips are driving? He doesn't even realize he's doing that as nicely as that. Well driven, the head is staying back. He's coming in. Great contact right there. Good extension down the line and a nice finish. Well done, Denny. The red line I've drawn in is what I call the power line. That's the line we want our head to stay on the screen left side of it and our body to go past it, our lower body. So we're pivoting around that lead leg and around the lead hip. So what you're going to see here is he sways off that line quite a bit. We'd like to not have that happen. And then he has a struggle to get all the way through it with the right side. The trail side is not turning. See how he's stuck here? The trail side should be leading the swing, the lower part of the trail side, not the shoulders, so he can develop width in his swing. You can see as he comes in here, he's kind of tight, bound up a little bit compared to the width he has here. So we're going to get him to work on that. What we want him to try to do is learn how to get the hips rotating here so the right knee ends up on the red line, not just the left knee. This golfer is a little bit squatted down. I would like to see the knees bent a little less and a little more flex at the waist, not at the waist, but at the hip line. He tends to bend the waist. But let's watch the swing. Stays pretty steady, doesn't he? Club's going back on that plane line very nicely, gets it set. Very classic in a single plane swing. Now he's taking the club head, and the reason that club head is up like this is he's trying to move the club head. We try to force the club head to the ball sometimes. And what we need to be doing is just moving the handle and trusting that the graphite shaft is actually going to stay on the head and it'll pull the head through to the ball. He has a nice solid impact and on through to a finish. His lack of power is because he's moving the wrong end of the club. It's like trying to crack a whip by moving the wrong end of the whip. We just move the handle end. Pretty nice swing though. But he's trying to get power. Power comes from conserving angular momentum or keeping the club lag as long as you can. One of the top swing aids on the market today is called the Tour Angle 144. That golfer is pretty much where that tour angle needs to be at 144 degrees. The fact that it's 145 is probably the guy with the pencil, me, not doing as good a job as I should be doing. Let's go ahead and draw in his swing line, his back angle. So you can see he's in a pretty good position right there. So we're going to advance the swing. At checkpoint number 2, you can see the only struggle is that he hasn't rotated his chest enough back away. At position number 1, which is about here, the chest should be facing the club face. It's not, it's still facing down towards the ball. So he's a little late in turning his shoulders. But he gets in a really good position there, but he needs a little more club lag because he's looking for power. Club lag would mean that I would see the butt end of the club pointing back at the camera, or me in this situation here. So he loses all that leverage angle that he could create. Then he has this other issue where he has a tendency to want to pop up and out of the shot right there. And that happens because he's not driving with his legs. The legs are straightening up and he gets locked in position there. It's not bad that his hands are higher, but we would like to see at this point now at least the right rear pocket, if not both pockets. We don't get to see them till quite late in the swing. We've got to get him to unscrew from the ground up. Here's another one of our single plane setups. He's got the club head a little too close to the golf ball here. We'd like to see the shaft running parallel to the lead arm underneath and up towards the lead armpit. And you can see that he's got his hands a little bit in a conventional setup. So if we could just move the head back a little bit, the head of the club back, he'd be in a little better position to already have a preset in the right wrist or trail wrist to do a nice single plane non-rotational swing. So we're going to take the club back. See where he is there? He's coming in impact. He's pretty close to where we want him to be at setup, isn't he? Let's back it up a little bit. Now, at this point, I'd like to see the shaft of the club pointing more towards the golf ball. It's a little vertical, but what we're going to see here is a nice shift right there. This is something he's been working on a long time. He's going to be very happy when he sees this video because he's worked on this for a long, long time, and he's getting that shift in there. The only negative here is he's releasing the club too early. You can see that the trail hand is under the golf club. The trail hand always stays on top of the golf club throughout the single plane swing, so we don't have that lifting right there. He did get his lower body to work right. Now we got to educate his hands. What an awesome finish. We just got to work on the hand position so he gets his power that he's looking for. Okay, I drew a little line in here, a circle actually. This golfer has a tendency to let her head wander all over the place. We're always hearing the old adage, keep your head down. Well, that's not as important as keep your head steady. Feel like it's not moving around a lot. The head is kind of the pivot point of your swing. It's attached to your spine. Your spine is attached to your butt. Everything needs to be attached together and work together. You can see she's getting a little swaying off. She's doing that instead of rotating. Then she collapses a little bit. Pretty good position here if her head was still in the middle. But it comes back. Not a bad position there. You can see she's going to make really good contact. So if I blow this up, you can see that's pretty close, except for the club is way inside and she's either going to miss completely or just take it off the toe. So everything's working except she's not getting the bottom of her swing in the right spot. And there's two bottoms. The bottom of the arc that's away from you and the bottom of the arc that's toward the ground. Her ground arc looks pretty good there, but it's not far enough away from her. She's not throwing that club head out and away because she's pulling in a little bit. You see right there how she's pulling in? The hands are really in close to her body. She just pulled that club right away and almost got the cameraman here. And she's looking at me going, sorry. But we just got to get the feeling that we're swinging our hands out towards that golf ball a little bit more, out towards right field, first base, out away from us. I've really blown this up a lot. I want you to watch the right knee here. What this golfer does is on the takeaway, straightens the right knee, moves everything around in one direction, he thinks he's getting his weight onto the lead, trail side, but in effect, what he's doing is pushing all the weight onto his lead side. You can see now he's even collapsing onto the lead side. All the weight is there. Then as he shifts, he pivots around the other way and does what we call a reverse pivot. He's pivoting around the back leg instead of the front leg. See how the leg is pivoting around? So we've got to get him to find a way that he keeps his right leg flexed and then turns his right knee to the left knee. Otherwise, he's going to be in that jammed in position, see right there? And the head is just going to move forward and he's going to lack power and accuracy and consistency. This golfer's having a tough time generating any power because she's not using her lower body to drive the club at all. And she tends to get a little upright with the swing. First thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and draw in our swing plane here. And that's right there. What we want to see is the club be at least parallel to that line throughout the entire swing. We're going to go ahead and play the swing in slow motion. Starts back. And she's lifting the club a little bit. Not bad. It's a little above the plane at this point right here. Now she collapses at the top of her backswing. Starts down. You can see absolutely no lower body action right there at all. She does turn, but let's stop right here. At this point now the club should be on this line this way. So she's not releasing the club around at all. That's a block shot, generally speaking, or a powerless shot. She hits it pretty straight, but she's got no power. It's almost like she's bunting the ball. So what we're going to get her to do is rotate those hands over, get the left elbow down instead of flying up like it is now, so that she can get that club released. One of the things you'll see a lot with an amateur golfer is what we call flat-footed swinging, where there's no power being derived from the ground at all. We just stay on our feet flat-footed. That's why it's called flat-footed swinging. Let's clear this out of the way. I drew that line poorly. Let's draw a parallel line into the golf shaft. Let's start the swing back pretty easy. She's doing pretty good there, but she's not doing what we call pronating or supinating, or letting the hands rotate. She's a little blocked in there. At this point now, I'd like to see the hands much lower, down about knee level, about in this area here, so her hands haven't lifted up the club so much, and then let the toe be up or even parallel to the swing plane line that we drew in earlier. See what she's done now? She's bound herself right in. The hands are real low. We want to get our hands above our trail shoulder. She comes back down, but you can see everything's flat-footed at this point. Still no action at all. She hits pretty decent contact, but there's just no power in it. So what we're going to get her to do is just use a little bit more of the leg, drive off the back leg a little bit, and get a little more height in their backswing. A lot of golfers find themselves in a single plane setup or close to it without even knowing that's what they're doing. And that's what this golfer's done. His hands are pretty high, but not high enough to be a true single plane, so it's sort of stuck in the middle. The other thing we can notice here is that his shoulders are pointing pretty far to the left of his target. His target is straight out about in here. So we need to get him to get his shoulders a little more parallel left of the target line. Going to watch the takeaway here now. He does a pretty nice job of keeping the club right on that parallel line. Notice we're not seeing any pronation. That's a good single plane swing. You don't need to do that. But we would like to see a little hinging in the wrists here. This is almost a pure pendulum swing where it's just back and forth on the same line. Pretty relaxed looking. And he really hits the ball. I mean, look at this kind of an energy efficient swing here. Look at the launch coming off. The ball is going straight up, right on line. Beautiful targeting. Did a really good job. That's the advantage of the single plane pendulum style swing. Good job. When I set up behind this golfer, I set up with the camera on a straight line to his shoulders. Then I asked him where he was aiming, and he said the last barrel out there towards the right. You can see by his shoulder alignment that he's really aimed out over in here someplace, way to the left of that. So we're going to go ahead and let him swing with his alignment the way it is. And we're going to take a look and see what happens to our ball flight. So the takeaway's not bad. See, there's a little lifting going on. Nice turn. He's going to come down. Look how open the club face is at this point. So he's going to cut across it. And he's got this low scooter off to the... Now he did manage to get it on the line he was on, but he's not comfortable, and he's getting what we call a glancing blow. You can't generate the power cutting across it. So you can see that the club, instead of continuing down the line that he wants to go on, cutting way across it. There's no rotation of his lower body. The right knee isn't moving to the left knee. You can see there the right knee is kind of stuck, and he's not being able to generate any power. He's hitting with a glancing blow. Imagine, if you would, holding a nail and then hitting the nail on the head of a hammer, but at a glancing blow. The nail is not going to go in very well. It's going to bend, and you're going to smash your fingers. So we're working on getting this golfer to be a little bit more aligned. Now, as we take the swing back, you'll see how long it takes before his shoulders are parallel to his target line. See, he's right there. That's where he should be at setup, and it's a long ways off of that. You can see also that he's lifting the club off the ground instead of just letting it turn back in what we call the one-piece swing, where the hands don't raise the club off the ground, the rotation raises the club off the ground. This golfer is working with the swing guide. It's a device to help you set the hinge in the proper position on your takeaway and your follow-through. You see it's the yellow attachment on the end of his grip there. He's got a good setup. We have an issue with this golfer that he has a little bit of movement going on at the top of his backswing that's throwing him a little offline. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw in our swing plane. Let's draw it in a color that's kind of similar there to his shirt. Draw that up there, right there. He's in a nice setup right there. His hands are hanging freely. Look how straight his spine is. It's a really good setup. I'm going to start the club back kind of easy. See, he's lifting right away. That's a tendency I think you see a lot of golfers doing. They want to get that club in the air as soon as possible. They get it a little too high, and that throws them a little off position. So you can see he's getting a little lifty. The shoulders haven't rotated. The shoulders need to rotate on the same plane line as the club shaft. You can see his shoulders aren't doing that. That's why the club is lifting. He's got no way to get it up. Now he's going to get up to a top position. You can see a little bit, if you look closely, you'll see a little bit of the swing guide poking off between the two arms. That means he hasn't got it set. That's because the lead wrist is so bent. It needs to be a little flatter. That'll put him in a better position. When you bend your wrist like that, you're opening the club face and requiring a lot of action in order to get it back onto plane again and to get the club face square to the target line. Now here's where the little movement takes place. See that right there? Just that little bit can throw you off. Now he's going to start down well outside and above his original swing plane. So his hands are pretty high, he stood up. He's going to come through. Now you can see he's just pulling everything in order to be able to get at the ball because he's lost his positioning. He's no longer got his weight distributed evenly on his legs. He's pulling up out of his shot, and you'll see the exit here is pretty far from being on plane with the green line or the orange line. He finally does get the club back, the swing guide back on his forearm. That's pretty good. So we're going to work on that for a little while to see if we can get him to be a little more comfortable, a little more relaxed. He's got plenty of strength and plenty of power. He's just not utilizing it the best he could.